I still remember the first time I saw a human. At the time, I didn't know what I was looking at. I thought the figure before me was some kind of weaponized aberration, a mistake of biology and steel. But when she removed her helmet and I saw her eyes, I realized the truth. It wasn't a weapon. It was a warning. And by the end, the entire galaxy would understand what that meant. The silence before the storm. My name is Kale of the Threx Dominion, one of the oldest and most enduring species in the Orion Arm. For over 12 millennia, our people believed we understood war. We had fought it, shaped it, and profited from it. We thought there was no more mystery left in the act of killing. Then the Silith Horde came. The Silith were not a race, they were a plague. They consumed worlds, hollowed out moons, and stripped the very atoms of life from whatever they touched. No diplomacy, no reason, no mercy. Just hunger. In the beginning, the Galactic Council tried to fight back. Hundreds of fleets united under one banner. 100 million soldiers sworn to defend civilization itself. But the Silith didn't fight our wars. They devoured them. World after world fell. Entire systems blinked out in silence. Even the most advanced weapons couldn't stop them. For every victory we achieved, they adapted. They learned. By the time we realized our extinction was inevitable, the galaxy had already begun to die. And then someone whispered a name, a word spoken in disbelief. Humans. To the lost world. The name was old, dragged up from records so ancient they were half myth. Humanity. Once a minor species from a blue planet called Earth, somewhere on the edge of the Milky Way. Long thought extinct. Their colonies had gone dark during the collapse. Their worlds were silent. No one had heard from them in nearly 500 years. But legends persisted. Stories of a violent, unpredictable species. Fragile, yet unyielding. The kind of beings who laughed in the face of extinction and called it a challenge. We dismissed those stories as exaggerations of a primitive age. Until a distress signal came from the Caldara frontier, deep in Silith territory. Human signal. 3. First contact again. When our recon fleet arrived, we expected ruins. Instead we found bodies, Silith corpses, piled high in mountains of their own kind. The air shimmered with radiation and ash. At the center of the devastation was a small fortress, crudely built, patched with scavenged armor plates and bones. And standing atop it, one human. Her name was Commander Mara Wren, Terran Defense Force, Earthborn. She was the last of her garrison, she said. Her people had survived underground for centuries, forgotten by the galaxy, waiting for the day they'd be needed again. When I asked her how they'd survived the Silith, she only smiled. We didn't survive them, she said. We learned how to kill them. She asked for one thing in return for her help. Coordinates to every Silith-held world. We gave them. 4. The Awakening of Earth. It began as a whisper. Systems across the Perseus Arm lit up with strange signals, ancient Terran encryption codes. Dead satellites reactivated. Sleeper fleets came online. No one had known humanity had such reserves. Hidden in the void. Automated shipyards ignited on forgotten moons. Old war AIs began transmitting. And then the voice of Earth itself spoke. This is Soul Command. Humanity has returned. They called it Operation Stormfall. The storm arrives. The first wave of Terran fleets struck at Zyra 9, a Silith hive world that had consumed dozens of planets. I was stationed on the outer defense ring, recording data for the Council. What I witnessed defied logic. Terran ships didn't move like ours. They didn't glide. They lunged. Their hulls were black as the void, wrapped in magnetic armor fields that rippled like storms. When they fired, space itself seemed to tear. They used weapons I'd never seen: kinetic spears, graviton imploders, atmospheric disruptors. But it wasn't just their firepower. It was the rage behind it. Every maneuver, every strike, every burn through the dark, it all felt personal. The Silith adapted, as they always did. But humans didn't fight predictably. They didn't use formations. They broke patterns, shifted tactics mid-battle, and when cornered, rammed their ships straight into enemy cores. It wasn't strategy. It was fury made flesh. And within 72 hours, Zyra 9 was gone. 6. The monsters of Earth. At first, the Council celebrated. Our saviors, they called them. The lost children of Soul. But those of us who had seen the aftermath began to realize something deeper, something darker. Human fleets didn't just destroy the Silith. They obliterated them. Entire ecosystems reduced to glass. Orbital bombardments that turned continents into vapor. They didn't just win. They made sure nothing could rise again. When questioned, Commander Wren replied coldly, "Mercy died when your galaxy ignored our calls 5 centuries ago." It was then that the galaxy remembered. Humanity had begged for help once, long ago, when the collapse began. No one had answered. The Council had written them off as a casualty of history. And now they were returning the favor. 7. The storm front expands. The humans moved with terrifying coordination. Fleets emerged from hidden wormholes, striking multiple hives simultaneously. Their soldiers, taller, augmented, armored in adaptive exosuits, fought like predators. I witnessed one engagement firsthand on the planet Gryon, where my detachment assisted the humans in defense. The Silith came in waves. Millions of them. Our energy shields held for 23 minutes. Then the humans dropped their shields deliberately and charged. They fought hand to hand. Blades of plasma and steel against teeth and claw. I watched them fall and rise again. Bodies torn apart, still fighting. Some laughed as they died. When dawn came, the battlefield was silent. The Silith had been wiped out to the last. One of the human commanders looked over the carnage and muttered, "This is what happens when you beg the storm for mercy." The turning point. By the 3rd year of the campaign, the Silith were retreating. Their hives collapsed, their queens slaughtered. The Council convened emergency meetings to discuss humanity's growing dominance. We feared the Silith, but the humans terrified us more. They didn't stop when the war was won. They hunted the remnants across galaxies. They sterilized infected systems, destroyed worlds suspected of contamination, and executed anyone who resisted their quarantine laws. They were no longer saviors. They had become the executioners of the stars. Still, I traveled with them. I recorded their deeds, their songs, their strange rituals before battle. I began to understand. Humans didn't wage war out of cruelty. They waged it because they couldn't bear to lose anyone again. They remembered what it felt like to be forgotten. 9. The last hive. It took 10 years to reach the Silith Prime nest, deep within the Sagittarius core. An entire galaxy watched as the Terran Armada surrounded it. A billion ships, dark as night, engines burning blue like dying stars. The Queen of the Silith sent a transmission. A single word in Galactic standard. Mercy. For a long moment humanity was silent. Then Earth answered. No. The bombardment lasted for 7 days. When it ended, there was nothing left. No trace of the hive, no signal, no life. Just silence. The kind that follows the end of something ancient and terrible. The galaxy was safe. But peace was another matter. The price of salvation. After the war, humanity didn't join the Council. They didn't rebuild the worlds they'd saved. Instead, they withdrew, retreating to Sol, sealing their borders behind walls of steel and gravity wells. We tried to reach out to thank them, to offer alliance. No reply ever came. Over time, reports surfaced. Entire human fleets patrolling the outer dark, destroying anything resembling Silith DNA. They had become eternal guardians, bound by trauma, unable to rest. The galaxy began to call them by a new name. Not saviors. Not humans. The Storm. 11. The last message. It has been 50 years since the storm fell silent. I am old now, one of the last living witnesses of their wrath. But tonight, as I orbit the ruins of Gryon, I pick up a faint transmission. Weak, ancient Terran encryption. I decode it. It's a message, repeating endlessly in the void. We were born in chaos, forged in extinction. We begged for mercy, and none came. So when the galaxy begged us in turn, we answered. I play it again and again, listening to the ghost of a voice that once changed the fate of 1,000 worlds. I wonder if they're still out there, somewhere beyond the rim, watching, waiting. Because if the Silith ever rise again, or if something worse comes from the dark between galaxies, then once more, the galaxy will beg for salvation. And once more humanity will become the storm.